Hello, fourth graders. If you are watching this, this is because this is an asynchronous test review. So what we're going to be doing is we are going to be playing Jeopardy. So if you're watching this on your own time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose a category and a price point. I'm going to read the question. I'm going to maybe pause for maybe 2 or 3 seconds, and then I'm going to click and show you the answer. But if you need more time, that's totally fine. So what you can do is you can just pause this video because you're watching it on your own. You can pause the video, give yourself a little more time, and then press play, and then you'll eventually hear the answer. If you're watching this as a whole class, again, I'm going to read the category, the question. Give yourself a few seconds to think, pause the video, and then press play in order to hear the answer. All right? So let's get going. So we are Mr. T-Rex. Again, you can watch this on your own time again. You can pause it if you need more time to think. And let's get going. This is a review for our waves and light test that we have coming up next week. So let's start with explain this for 300. What is the difference between the crest of a wave and the trough? What is the difference between the crest and the trough? Well, the crest is the highest part of a wave, while the trough is the lowest part of a transverse wave. We're off to a great start, Mr. T-Rex. Let's do pitch and amplitude for 200. What factor affects the volume or how loud a sound is? Think about sound waves and what factor affects the volume or how loud the sound is. I hope you said the amplitude of a wave. Let's go with light for 100. What is the difference between a luminous and a non-luminous object? What is the difference between a luminous and a non-luminous object? Objects that create or emit light energy by themselves are known as luminous objects, while non-luminous objects do not create their own light. They reflect the light that is given to them by luminous objects. All right, so luminous objects are able to emit and give off their own light, while non-luminous objects do not create their own light. They only reflect light. There are more non-luminous objects in the world than there are luminous. Okay? Mr. Bergen, let's do vocab for 100. This is energy that is waiting to be used. What is it called? I hope you said stored energy. All right, let's do explain this 400. Provide 2 examples of transparent materials or objects. Now, obviously, if you think of other ones that I haven't thought of, that's fine. But you're going to have to remember what transparent materials or objects are. So I came up with windows, plastic wrap, or glass. But maybe you've thought of other objects. I'm not saying that you're wrong, but these are 3 that I thought of. Okay? So now let's go with, let's do light for 500. What type of object, transparent, translucent, or opaque, would not be able to create a shadow? So you're going to have to think about what is needed to create a shadow. Transparent objects would be horrible at making shadows because transparent objects allow all the light to pass through an object. In order to have a shadow, light needs to be blocked. So obviously, or hopefully maybe not obviously, opaque objects, right? Where opaques are objects where light cannot pass through, which means it blocks the light. So opaque objects would be the best at creating a shadow. Mr. Bergen, let's do pitch and amplitude for 500. Can sound waves have a low amplitude and a low pitch? Yes, they can. Let's go to vocabulary 400. This is the number of waves that pass a fixed point in a certain amount of time. It is the frequency of a wave. Let's go with light for 300. What is the word for when light bounces off an object? When light bounces off an object, we say that it is reflecting or reflection. Great job, everyone. Come on, T-Rex. Keep up the great work. Pitch and amplitude for 100. What two factors affect the pitch of a sound? What two factors affect the pitch of a sound? It is the frequency and the wavelength. Ooh la la. Mr. Berglund, can we have vocabulary for 500? Yes, you can. This is the distance from one crest to the next. It is the wavelength. Is there going to be a picture that shows up? Maybe not. All right, explain this for 100. How do the bowling pins get knocked down? Think about energy. So when you're bowling, what causes the bowling pins to be knocked down? Kinetic energy that is in the rolling ball hits the pins. When the ball hits the pins, the kinetic energy that was in the ball is now transferred to the pins. So energy transfer is what causes the pins to get knocked down. There is kinetic energy in the ball. The pins currently have stored energy, but when the bowling ball hits the pins, it transfers energy to the pins, which causes them to be knocked down. Let's do light for 200. What type of objects do not allow any light to pass through? Those would be opaque objects. Can we have pitch and amplitude for 400? Which wave, the red, blue, or green, would have the loudest sound? Explain why. The loudest sound would be in the blue wave because the amplitude affects how loud a sound is. The blue wave has the highest amplitude, which means it will sound the loudest. Let's do vocabulary 200. This is a substance through which something can travel. What is the substance through which something can travel? It is the medium. Let's do light for 400. What happens when light travels through two different mediums? What happens when light travels through two different mediums? It slows down, travels at different speeds. That is what causes refraction. Explain this for 200. What is the difference between a transverse wave and a longitudinal wave? What is the difference between a transverse wave and a longitudinal wave? The energy in a transverse wave moves perpendicular to the direction that the wave is traveling. The energy in the wave goes up and down while the wave travels from left to right. While in a longitudinal wave, that's where the energy and the direction of the wave move parallel to one another. All right, so you're going to have to understand perpendicular and parallel, but I know you guys can do this. 3 more questions. Let's explain this for 500. How old was Mr. Berglund when he lost his last baby tooth? Any ideas? How old was I? I was 20 years old. How about that? I was a late bloomer. Let's do pinch and amplitude for 300. Which wave would have the lowest sounding pitch? The red, blue, or green? Explain why. The red wave would have the lowest sounding pitch because it has the fewest wavelengths, which also means that it has the lowest frequency. The lower the frequency and the longer the wavelength, the lower the pitch will be. Finally, let's do vocabulary for 300. This is the distance from the resting position to the crest. The amplitude is the distance from the resting position or medium to the crest. And the winner is Mr. T-Rex. Great job, everyone. So that was our review for our science test, our waves and light test as a review. So hope this was helpful. Again, pay attention. I hope you marked which areas you are confused about. You can review them, look through your notes. Good luck, everyone. I believe you. Thank you for all your hard work. You guys are doing a great job.